Hello, I'm Frost and welcome to this video where I'm going to be giving you my recommendations of sci-fi games to be playing in 2020. And we're not going to be just covering new games and new releases, but also games that have been out a while but are still relevant. All right, let's get going. Okay, first up, coming out in March, we have a date set. I think it's March 20th maybe. I can't remember exactly, but it's in March, and don't worry, in my March update I will let you know. That is Kerbal Space Program 2. This is going to be epic. Basically what's happening is, if you're not familiar with Kerbal Space Program, it is a game about rocket science, and you basically launch stuff up into space and you make your own rockets, and you have to deal with orbital mechanics and all that kind of good stuff. And you can basically, there's planets and moons around, and you can land your constructed ships on these planets and moons and bring them back. And now Kerbal Space Program 2 just takes it to a whole other level as it goes interstellar and also brings us colony building. So that's looking to be absolutely epic. Now, if you're like me and you're absolutely rubbish at Kerbal, I mean, I got as far as getting to the Moon and back. But once I tried to start like linking two ships in orbit, it was just a disaster. But it's not going to stop me from playing Kerbal Space Program 2, because it's one of those things where rocket explosions are as good as a success sometimes. Yeah, you just have to laugh at your own mistakes, and you learn in the process. That's all good. So Kerbal Space Program 2 is coming soon in March. Then it's the big one in April. Cyberpunk 2077 by CD Projekt Red. Now, with this one you can believe the hype. Cyberpunk 2077 is, after all, being made by the people that made The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt, which is probably the best game of this century so far. As a role-playing game, it is literally uncontested as being the best. And Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be the successor to that, and in a science fiction format. There have been comments about the world not being that big, but the world is very much three-dimensional. Whereas with The Witcher you kind of just went over terrain. Here we got skyscrapers, so the city is more condensed but goes up. And we can be assured as well that the campaigns are going to be brilliant, the storytelling is going to be excellent. And there's going to be lots and lots of choices. Also, you can basically really customize your characters, from what I could see. That you can basically have a certain set of skills and mix it with another, so you don't have to follow like a particular set of progression. Now, if you want to know more about Cyberpunk 2077, the Neon Arcade on YouTube has got excellent videos and covers it in detail. Personally, I'm one of these people where I'd rather just know the game's coming out and then find out all about it when I actually play the game. I like the whole surprise experience. So if you're similar to me, then obviously, just hold back, just know the date. It's in April. But otherwise, there you go. So Cyberpunk 2077. So those are the two big releases this year that we have dates for. Now, also coming out all throughout this year, and it actually started in December, is Halo Master Chief Collection. Now, this is basically a reboot of all the Halo games that have come out since the very first dawn of the Xbox, but they've been remastered, and they're now in 4K with HDR. And I've been playing Halo Reach, and I haven't had an Xbox, so I've not played Halo before, but I was familiar with the lore. And it is a good romp. The storytelling is brilliant in it. The cutscenes are just great. Now, obviously, from the point of view of game mechanics, you are basically dealing with an old game that's been rebooted. So it's not complex. You got your WASD keys, you got 6 keys, you got throw grenade, crouch, jump. What else have you got? Switch weapons, and that's about your lot, really. So it's not very complicated. But it has been well designed by 343 Industries. There's really good mouse support, so you don't feel like it's just a port, that they actually have implemented the WASD keys and the mouse very, very well. And the thing with the Master Chief Collection is that they're going to be releasing games throughout the year. I think there's about 5 in the series. So I think the next one might be Combat Evolved, should I say. And So yeah, that's a, if you want something to keep you busy throughout the whole year, you buy the Master Chief Collection, and they'll be keep on releasing new titles throughout, or releasing the titles throughout the year. Right, moving on. We then got sort of 2 games that have come out in the last few months, which are very similar to each other. The first one is Planetfall. Now, I mentioned Planetfall because it came out in August. I've done a fair few videos on the game. I find it very entertaining. Essentially, it's a progression from Age of Wonders 3, which was in a medieval kind of fantasy setting, that's now been brought forward to a sci-fi genre. And it is essentially a turn-based strategy game on a hex grid. You run around, you basically have to build colonies, and you fight NPCs. There's also a multiplayer version. And you have basically different progression trees depending on the classes that you choose, depending on the secret tech that you choose. And you have different ways of winning, from setting off doomsday weapons to global domination and all that kind of stuff. So, very popular game, and the reason why I mentioned it as being playable very much in 2020 is there's still, I think, 2 or 3 DLCs to be released for it that are planned. Only 1 has come out so far, so I would expect 1 or 2 to come out throughout this year. So keep an eye out for Planetfall. The other one is Phoenix Point. Now, Phoenix Point came out in early December, and I'm going to be covering it. I need to do some videos on it, on the subject. Very similar to Planetfall, turn-based. It's actually from the producer of XCOM, a guy called Julian Gollop, I think it is, Julian? Yeah, Gollop is definitely the surname. So he created XCOM way back in the early days of gaming, and it's been brought up to date. And the combat mechanics on it are really, really good. The early XCOM had issues where the way it was kind of the RNG-based system, the random number generator, would sometimes mean that you wouldn't miss at point blank range, which would be extremely frustrating. That's now been fixed. Every bullet has its own projectile path, and the cover works correctly, and it's the units are interesting to play with as well. Each unit is very, very different from the other. It's different from Planetfall in the sense that Planetfall is more about armies. This is much more skirmish. You deal much more with individual units with very, very specific abilities. And you lose a unit, it's a big deal. So you have to play much more defensively than you do with Planetfall. But I can recommend Phoenix Point, and Phoenix Point is also due to have some DLC releases this year. So moving on, we've got X4 Foundations. Now, X4 Foundations is a Elite style game, if you know Elite from back in the day. Now, the idea is you just start off in a little spaceship in a big wide universe, and you have to then build yourself an empire. And you can do that in multiple ways, but the main way is obviously trading. You could be a pirate, but you're upgrading your ships. You basically build yourself a station where you can then produce components. You can then trade those components. You can mine for resources, all the kind of the usual stuff in a kind of a sandbox world. There is a bit of a campaign at the start just to help you get started, but that ends pretty early on, and then you're left to your own devices. As a game, it's really developed since it launched. We're now at version 2.6, which is really stable. It's completely playable. The economy is still a little bit, but it's definitely an enjoyable game. You can really get your teeth into it. And on top of that, we're waiting for the Split Vendetta DLC, which is due to be released very soon. Version 3 is currently in beta and is going to be released with the DLC early this year. We don't have an exact date, but hopefully January or February we'll see Split Vendetta coming out. So X4 Foundations is definitely going to be visited by me again when that DLC comes out. Right, next up, Space Engineers. How can I describe Space Engineers? Well, you can see my screen here. It's taken from Space Engineers. It essentially, it's if you built Lego as a child, if you made sort of plastic models of airplanes or spaceships and stuff like that, then Space Engineers is for you. It's essentially a block building game. You start off in space or on a planet with no resources. Again, very typical scenario. It's a proper sandbox, and we're playing 2 modes. One is creative, where you can just literally just build with all the resources available to you. The other one is survival mode, where you basically then can build, but you have to get the resources yourself. And if you're in space, you can run out of oxygen, you can die, and all these kind of things. I'm really not doing the game justice. It is just huge in what it does. It was released quite a few years ago, but in early release and major release or proper release in the beginning of 2019. It's updated constantly. There was an update just in December, so it is still very relevant and it can keep you occupied for hours and hours and hours. On top of that as well, there's a big community and it's a multiplayer game, so you could do co-op or you can go up against other people. And I believe there are some servers out there that are very, very busy, you know, with multiple players all joining factions to fight against fight against each other. Right, I'm going to move on because I'm babbling. All right, so that's Space Engineers. Next up, Warframe. Okay, Warframe's been going forever as well, but Warframe is constantly updated. It's one of those games where, so let's just very briefly provide some details. You get an exoskeleton and you are called a Tenno. And you can basically wear different exoskeletons that give you different abilities. When you first start the game, you get the ability to do it on very much a campaign basis, and you progress around planets, building up skills, building up mods, so that you become more powerful. And then eventually you can also then move into the open world side of things. And it's completely co-op as well. You can co-op with other people on missions, even during the campaign kind of sort of levels. Excuse me. And it's, like I said, it's been constantly updated. They're now sort of bringing in spaceships into it, where your Tenno can fly spaceships. So that release is due to come out very soon, I believe. And if you know exactly when, then please do so in the comments. So Warframe is there, and it's definitely worth a play. And if you haven't played it in a while, then do come back and revisit it, because, like I say, the expansions on this happen regularly. And the community is very much involved in that, and they listen to the community and give the players exactly what they want. Okay, EVE Online. So EVE Online's been around since 2004, and it's still going strong. And EVE Online is one of the, I don't even know if calling it a game is doing it justice. It's more of a community based in space. You know, people play EVE not just to play the game, but to be part of a community. You know, it's very much a comms-based game. You know, you're on voice, and you know, you join your corp mates and you chat with your guys in corp, and you babble while you're mining, and then you all get together in fleets. And it is very much a social aspect of the game is very, very important. And also, it's one of those games where you can still join now, and you're not irrelevant. You know, a lot of games, people progress so much since launch that you could never attain the level they do. That isn't the case with EVE. I mean, it still takes years to like really build up and to get very powerful in the game, but you are still relevant from the very early days. You know, when you join a fleet, you know, you can fly a very small ship like an interceptor, and you play a vital role. You know, so that's one of the things that's very unusual about EVE, is EVE allows you to incorporate players at all levels, and everyone plays their part, which is excellent. So you go, EVE Online, it's updating every 2 weeks at the moment. Not necessarily new stuff, but sort of changes in the game mechanics and things like that to change the meta, make the game more interesting, and create new conflicts, etc. So EVE is a very, very dynamic world, and I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't done so already. Be aware, though, you will spend your life in EVE. Careful. All right, and finally, Elite Dangerous. I mentioned Elite Dangerous because, once again, similar to EVE, you know, it's one of these big sandbox worlds. It's constantly developing. It's not quite the same pace as EVE Online. It's a little bit slower paced, I would say. But, you know, you explore, you get new worlds, you trade, all that kind of good stuff that you would expect from sandbox. It is multiplayer. The only thing is their updates are not as frequent. They should be bringing capital ships. It was promised this year in 2020. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Who knows? But please give it a try. So Elite Dangerous. There we go. Just a quick one there. All right. So now we're going to come on to stuff that hasn't come out but should come out in 2020. First one is Industries of Titan. It's kind of running late, so it should be out this year. Industries of Titan is like a SimCity building game set on the moon on Titan, and it's primarily, like I say, city building, but it looks like there's a bit of combat involved as well. So it could be similar to this Planetfall and Phoenix Point, things like that. So one to look out for, and not much really known about the game. So I'm just basically going off what's on the trailer. Another game that's coming out this year is Starship Troopers. Now, Starship Troopers is being made by Slitherine. Now, if you, like me, love the 90s movie based on the book by Heinlein, you know, it was proper kitsch, proper tongue-in-cheek, very pastiche, and Slitherine, the developers, have promised that they're going to keep that feel of the 90s movie very much in the game. So it's one to keep an eye out for. There's no release date given yet, but it is looking very, very likely for 2020. So there you go, it's one to look out for down the road. Right, now we're going to come on to 3, which I'm going to mention just because if I don't mention them, then people say I should have mentioned them. But to me, they're kind of out there. The first one is No Man's Sky. Now, No Man's Sky has kind of had a really rocky road, had a terrible launch, didn't do what it was promised, and it's really, really kind of developed over the last sort of year or so. You know, now it's a completely playable game. If you're looking for something to try, then go for it. It is an exploration game. It's not really a multiplayer game. You can sort of share space with other people, but you know, you can't, as I understand, you can't trade with others and so forth. So it is kind of limited in that respect. It also can get quite repetitive. You know, I think it's one of those games, if you're willing to sort of accept that you're going to get about 30 hours out of it and that's your lot, then give it a go. You know, especially if it's on discount, then get it then, you know, give it a try. But it's worth a mention, as you know, it does look nice, it's glorious, and it's a pretty chilled game. You know, you just sort of fly around the place exploring. So there you go, No Man's Sky. And then the last 2 are early access games, and they promise a lot and they don't necessarily deliver. First one is Dual Universe. Now here's the roadmap. As you can see, they're planning to release all kinds of stuff this year, but the actual date for the main release of the title, for it to be finished, is not till 2021, and there's no date given in 2021. So for all we know, that could be December 2021. So if you're one of these people that likes to dive into these early access games and donate money towards the cause and, you know, their Kickstarter and stuff like that, then please do give it a go. You know, it's around. It's still very early stages. It promises to be another EVE Online. You know, it's running on a single shard. Everyone shares the same space. It's going to be a true MMO, and it's going to have all these amazing features. So they're not there yet, but they may be by next year. But if you want to get your teeth in there early, then Dual Universe is available soon, I believe. Right. You see, I haven't even checked, because I need to actually double check that. But if someone wants to put it in the comments, if not, I will pop it in the description if it's out or not. Right, last but not least, Star Citizen. Okay, Star Citizen is another MMO, space-based, that's going to do everything. You can play it now. You know, it is a Kickstarter game. It's been a Kickstarter for forever. Promises a lot, hasn't delivered on much, but some people are big fans of it. I personally wouldn't recommend it at this stage. I would still wait, but that's my call. If you feel differently about it, then do let me know. But I just thought I'd mention Star Citizen because it gets mentioned every year in all 20. Every time someone does a video like this, it gets mentioned. So I will mention it, but I would not necessarily recommend it at this stage. I would wait maybe right till the end of the year and then maybe look at it. Right, so that wraps it up for me. I hope you found that useful or entertaining or both. If you like what I do, please subscribe. If you want to be notified when I release new videos, hit the bell icon. If you like this video, like, and if you didn't, dislike. Either way, it's all good. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next one. Bye.